Those are the three pillars of a true job fit.
This seems to me as something that everybody needs, right? Not somebody who is choosing their career now, but it's also useful for me, for anybody who has already chosen a career.
If I want to share about my work, I believe that a life work that you're into, it should have a soul. And the soul of a business is its story. My love is to come alongside a young person and really get them early so that they don't wind up as a very miserable, dissatisfied adult in their work.
This seems to me like as if it should be mandatory in every school. It would save people a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of waste, and it would create happy people.
Studies show that when people are trying to self-reflect on things like question-based assessments where they're asked a question and then they're given 5 answers ranging from strongly agree to strongly disagree, they've shown that people have a hard time actually answering in accordance with who they really are, not who they want to be or they think they are.
Time is our most precious asset. I don't think there is anything more precious than that, right? And everything we have built in our lives was built around time and our focused attention and the time we gave on that. To look at my pile of books and choose one and play a game with me. Hey, welcome to Edu Leaders Speak, the podcast where trailblazers in education share their insights and innovations. Today, my guest is my dear friend, Jay Dusold. Jay has spent over 3 decades working with teens and parents as a mentor and life coach. He started focusing exclusively on career guidance in 2014 after helping his own son figure out career direction while he was a high school junior. Welcome, Jay. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Hey, Theodora, thank you so much for letting me be here.
I'm so happy you're here because we have connected so many times, and every time we meet, I learn so many things from you. You're a true inspiration. So I'm so happy you accepted the invitation and you're here with me. I have so many questions to ask you.
Okay.
So first of all, tell me what made you shift the niche into career guidance, because you were a life coach for so many years and then you made this direction. You headed for this.
Yeah, the key to the shift was my son, Justin. So he's our oldest son, and when he was a junior in high school, like many parents, we were at that season where he was starting to feel the pressure of answering the question, what are you doing after high school? And then he was feeling the pressure of college applications and all those things that most young people feel when they hit that junior year in high school. And so, my wife and I were doing this for the first time, and we wanted to help. We wanted to actually make a difference and come alongside of him and support him. But we realized we really didn't know what to do. And I started researching solutions, and I discovered 2 things. Number one, there weren't many good tools out there that were really trustworthy and reliable. In fact, I didn't find any. And the other big thing I discovered was that this is actually a massive problem. And I wasn't aware of how significant this problem is for most young people. So I started really getting stirred up about that. And I was able to access a really unique assessment tool. And when I was able to utilize this tool that was primarily in corporate and executive realms, I kind of hijacked it with the owner's blessing for young people. When I realized I had a real solution, I didn't want to just keep it for my own child and my family. I felt like, man, I want to go out in the world and make a difference with career direction, because I now have a really good, trustworthy tool to use, and I can really make a difference for young people. So that's kind of the backstory of making that pivot to focus on finding fits.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you have used this family struggle, let's say, to see, and you saw the opportunity through this family struggle.
Yes.
And how did this help your son, first of all, and then later on other kids?
Yeah, so I worked with my son, Justin, and it kind of all really hinges around this unique assessment tool. So once I became licensed to use the tool and trained, Justin was my first victim. And we went through the tool and really got a holistic understanding of how he's wired, not just aptitudes, but there's lots of other parts of someone's inner essence that really matter when they're trying to identify a job and career path that will work out. And so we walked through that assessment together, and then I took the findings, and then we started actually matching and finding positions that we could see aligned really well with who he was as a person, not just his aptitudes. And so he was excited. We landed on in the medical field, and we landed specifically on the job, this position of being a surgeon in the medical field. And so he was super excited about that. He saw it fit, and he went forward into that path.
Amazing, amazing. And then after that, you saw all the possibilities, all the potential of this tool, and then you started trying it out with other youth, right?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. So I found 5 other students that we knew personally. So there was, a trust factor there. The parents, trusted me and knew me. And I said, hey, I have access to this really unique tool. I've been using it with Justin. Does your, I found 5 other, students, your kids look like, based on discussions, that they are not certain about their career direction yet. I think this will really help. Could I work with them for a while? And thankfully, all 5 of those families said, yeah, we'd love to have you work with our kids on this. And so I call them the Fab 5. They were the first students that went through the coaching and had the same exact outcome. The position, because we narrow things down to an actual job position, not just the career field, but a specific position. And I saw the same results and the same responses when they saw that there was a job that they could, without doubt, see aligned and matched who they were. They became very excited about that. And they started like having ownership and seeing that as a real potential that would work out for them. And so, after doing that first cluster of students, I said, I'm really onto something here. Like I can replicate this. Like wasn't just an accident with my son. This is a result that I can, get consistently with other young people. And so, it really encouraged me to, go forward and start doing this as my life's calling.
Amazing, amazing. And do you do follow-ups with those young people you have helped in the past? Do you follow up and see what has happened in their life and if they stick to that decision?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So I call them circle back stories. And so the idea is, after students finish coaching years later, because a lot of times I'll be working, especially with high school students, and they still have some high school left to finish. If the fit that we found requires a degree, which, by the way, they get to tell me some of the other things that we need to keep in mind while we're looking for a match to their wiring. There's other things that they might bring into that process that we have to keep in mind. So some of my clients say, whatever is a great fit for me, my design, it can't require college because I'm not doing any more education. Okay, that's fine. Sometimes they have other variables. Sometimes there's a limitation because of, let's say, a learning challenge or a physical limitation that they have. So we make sure that we factor in all of those additional things. So a lot of times if students who are in high school say, college is fine, and we find a fit, they still have a year or 2 of high school to finish, then 4 years of high school, then getting into the position. So for a lot of my students, that follow-up, it doesn't take place for, anywhere from 5 to 7 years. But I do. In fact, on our website, you can see some of our featured circle back stories. These are, I think, 4, 5, and 7 years after the student went into the position that we identify would be a good fit. And Theodora, we look for 3 things. We look for success, motivation, and happiness or fulfillment. Those are the 3 pillars of a true job fit. And so that's what we ask. And I don't know. Like, I just say, hey, let's do a follow-up Zoom. I purposely don't want to know what happened. And we just say, hey, you did go into this position that we identified as a fit. 6 years ago. Are you successful? Do you feel motivated? And are you happy in your work? And that's what we look for as measurements that it was a true fit and it's actually working out.
Wow. This seems like a really good job and laying the foundation, because these young people, they go into adulthood with all the tools and the resources they need and the career path without wondering, is this for me or not?
Yep.
And without trial and error, they do the process and they know exactly what's going to happen in their life.
Yep.
And this seems to me as something that everybody needs, right? Not somebody who is choosing their career now, but it's also useful for me, for anybody who has already chosen a career.
Yes.
And they might be struggling and they might be going through the motions and they don't know why.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. In fact, when I started doing this work as a career guide, I had so many parents say to me, Jay, I'm 43. I'm stuck and miserable. Can this help me? And I started an adult program. I don't market it. I don't really promote it. But if people ask, I tell them about it. And that's simply because, you see, Theodora, there was a juncture where after I got access to this tool, I became licensed and certified to use it. And I started working with young people. I said, you know what? There's a whole universe, to your point, of other people, adults, in-career people that need this. And even people like military people coming out of the military who are transitioning into civilian life, or homeschool educators who have their children that are now graduated and out of the house and they're looking to get back into the workforce. And so I actually tinkered with a few different options, but you know what happened? I realized, I said, you know, if I want to share about my work, I believe that a life work that you're into, it should have a soul. And the soul of a business is its story. The soul is the story. And so the story was in my own family. And by the way, my own bad experience, I went to college. I was the first one in my family, so I didn't have any real guidance of what to do. This was back in the day where everyone and strongly said, you have to go to college if you want to get anywhere in life. And 35, 40 years ago, that was true. It's not true anymore today, but it was true. So I said, all right, I guess I have to go to college, but I didn't know what to do. And so I defaulted to what many students do. And I said, well, what do I like? And I liked buildings and I liked interior spaces. So I thought, oh, I guess that means I should be an architect. And I was an architect major, and then very quickly realized, oh my gosh, this involves a lot of math. And I hated math. I wasn't good at math. And then I realized other things about what the job of architect would actually look like in the day-to-day. And I said, this is definitely not for me. So I had my own bad experience of feeling anxious and confused and lost. And then I had that experience with helping my son. So I said, I want to do life work that has a story to it, not just because I analyzed 3 different markets and this seems like the most lucrative. Money wasn't an issue. I said, where's the passion of this? Where's the story? Where's the fire? And it was with young people. And I've always worked with young people. So I said, you know what? That's where I'm sticking. So I've worked with adult clients and I do, but my passion, my love is to come alongside a young person and really get them early so that they don't wind up as a very, miserable, dissatisfied adult in their work.
Yeah. And I think now that you mention it and you narrate this beautiful story of yours, I think this was the first Kindle that set the fire in this pivot, right?
Yes.
Not your son's. Your son was the reminder that I have to do something about it before it's too late.
That's a great point. Yes. Yeah. It was both my story and his story merging together.
Yeah.
That made that inferno.
Exactly. And how many people, I wonder how many people would really need that? And do you think that people would consider it as a failure if they said, I have to change I have to pivot or I have to totally change my career?
No, I don't think they'd see it as a failure because one of the things that I do with adult clients that's a little bit different is to factor in all of their experience and factor in if they've already earned degrees or they've earned credentials or they have 10 years in an industry. We don't want to totally ignore that. So when we try to find a fit for their wiring, we also want to include their experience and what they've invested in already. They have these assets, and it's not a waste. It wasn't a mistake. They did the best they could at that time, but we want to bring forth all of what they've earned and what they've built over the years and get them into a better fit, but not because it was a mistake. We're just able to now get them to a new fit that has a higher degree of motivation and feeling fulfilled at the end of the day.
And just the prospect of being feeling fulfilled motivate them to move forward with trying it out, right?
Yeah, and what's also really cool about working with in-career adults is that once they get the assessment results and they understand their wiring, they're also able to say, oh my God, now I know why my current role is not feeling motivating or fulfilling. And I've had clients where we could actually rescue their role because once they know what the problem is, we have tweaking strategies, adapting strategies. And for a few adult clients that I've worked with, we've been able to pinpoint, here's the problem. This is why this is feeling, so draining and so demotivating to you. And we've been able to actually adjust those things enough to where they're no longer feeling that way because of those areas of misalignment. So that's really cool. We can salvage it. That's certainly important if we can. Sometimes, I've worked with other adult clients and it's just, there's so many facets of the position that are just violating their wiring and their design that it really would be better if they pivoted to a new position.
New position.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the tool all the time, but is it just the tool that does the work, or is it something different, something else that adds up to it?
Yeah, I think the tool is absolutely critical because the whole process of matching is based on self-awareness in the categories that matter for finding fits. You see, there's a lot of things about our inner essence, whatever we want to call it, our personality, our soul. There are many traits, there are many facets that make us who we are that you can't see. It's the invisible us, right? There are a handful of those things that directly matter for finding job fits. Not all of them matter for job matching, but there are a number that do. And so once you understand your design in the areas that are important for matchmaking, then you can go forward and do something with that. If you don't have that understanding first, then the best thing you have to go with is opinions, self-evaluations of who you think you are. And those aren't always reliable. They've done studies to show that when people are trying to self-reflect on things like question-based assessments, where they're asked a question and then they're given, 5 answers ranging from strongly agree to strongly disagree. Studies have shown that people have a hard time actually answering in accordance with who they really are, not who they want to be or they think they are. And so the tool is so essential to give us a starting point because the tool analyzes a person's patterned repeated behavior. They don't answer questions. So that would be like, for example, you sit down with someone who's struggling financially, right? And the first thing you do is you want to look at their income and their spending. And I work with many people on this, and you may have too, right? And the person says, you ask them, well, what do you think you spend on fast food a month? They're like, probably definitely about $20 a month. Okay, great. Next time we meet, bring your bank statements, right? And then when you look at their actual behavior, right? Not their opinion of themselves, their behavior. They're like, oh my God, I spend $150 a month on hamburgers and French fries, right? And so this happens to all of us. We often have a difficult time accurately self-reflecting. But when we look at our actual behavior, not our subjective opinion, when we look at actual behavior, we get a much clearer sense of who we are in reality, not in perception. And so that's what this tool does. It analyzes behavior so we really understand the young person. And then we go from there.
Amazing. And what about the human factor? I mean, how do you bring the tool in alignment with everything you're doing?
Yes, of course, I definitely acknowledge that if someone else had this tool in their hand, they may not be as effective. I totally get that. Yeah. So, it's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. It's so good, Theodora. Okay, so here's what's coming to my mind. And this is sincere. I mean this. And you know me, Theodora. You know I'm a straight shooter, as they say.
Exactly.
I treat every client, my young clients, the teens, 20-year-olds. I treat every one of them as if they were my own kids. And I do several things within the coaching that are surrounding the tool. If we would say the tool is at the core, but then the surrounding pieces. And there's a few things that I really focus on. Number one is encouragement, speaking positivity over these young people, whether it's little texts I shoot them throughout the week. And I say, did anyone ever tell you you're awesome? Hey, you're amazing. Hey, as I get to know you, you have a fantastic design that's going to thrive and flourish somewhere once we figure a spot for you. All these kinds of things, because a lot of times young people, especially if there are clients who've graduated high school and they're stuck, or they've tried university and they went down the wrong path and they dropped out, or they just decided to, not go back. They have such a damaged self-esteem. They feel like a failure. They feel like they're behind. They feel like they're never going to figure it out. They feel like everyone else knows what they're doing. And these things are all equally perceptions, right? So a lot of times I need to encourage them. I need to speak, not fairy tale bullshit to them, like made up stuff. I mean, like real truth, but just positive truth, things I can say with confidence that I know are true. And so that's a really big, important factor. And the other part is we do a lot of mindset work in our coaching. When I hear things that I know as an experienced coach, and I know you do as well, you hear those things, you're like, that's a limiting belief speaking. Exactly. That will cause them to self-sabotage if we don't deal with that, right? So yeah, they can understand their wiring from the assessment. We could have a great job fit match and they could be excited, but that still doesn't mean they're going to be successful getting to it, because they may have all these limiting beliefs that cause them to self-sabotage. So, that's so important, is that we can, I really want to see every client that I work with, I want to see them set free, if you will, to move forward into that fit. So I try to create that environment where they feel loved, cared for. I am for them. I speak positivity over them. We get to mindset issues. And I take a real ownership in each of the young people that I work with.
Great job. And you might be the only person in those young people's life that has done this for them.
Right.
And we have to acknowledge this role we have on their life, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And what kind of feedback do you get from, like, if you can share a recent case study, a recent testimonial you got from one of your clients, what would it be? Which one would it be?
That's a great question. I'm going to put on my glasses. I will read. I literally just received this yesterday, and I will not name names because I haven't gotten permission. Oh, actually, I'm looking at my messages right now because I asked her if I had permission to share it anonymously, and she said yes. Okay. All right. So this is what she said. She said, Jay, you've been a godsend. I'm not joking when I say that. I've always known my daughter's potential and capability, but she was stuck. She was stuck. And your guidance and support has helped unlock her. I'm so grateful. That's a 23-year-old client who just graduated college
Mm-hmm.
and didn't really, didn't necessarily earn the right degree because she didn't know where she was heading, and feeling like a failure, feeling stuck, feeling like I don't know what to do. She was going to jump into a master's program just because she didn't know what to do. So she was going to go spend more time, money, and effort, basically delaying the problem. And this is what so many young people do. They jump into education as a way to delay or push off the reality that they don't know what to do. And they hope that in that investment of time, money, and effort, they're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And they normally don't. What they wind up doing is, like me, discovering things about that career field or about the jobs in that field that are things that they either don't have or they dislike. And then they wind up pivoting to a new major, and they do the same thing. And this cycle, picking, preparing, seeing a problem, pivoting, this cycle just continues.
Mm. Yeah. So your job really saves those young people from a lot of trouble, from a lot of pain in the future, from a lot of what else do you think it saves them from?
Yeah, I think that the two other big things that you didn't mention, it saves them from wasting effort.
Mm.
Like, listen, you have children, right? They've been either through university or through other things to prepare for work, right? They've worked hard. I mean, to earn a degree, 4 years of studying, examinations, writing papers, doing projects, right? There's a lot of effort that gets wasted. So I think, identifying a true job fit first, it avoids wasting time
Mhm.
and effort, money. Here in the US, Theodora, 57% of college students now take 6 years to earn a 4-year degree. That's an additional 2 years. And they say that in-state schools, if you go to a college in the state where you live, in-state schools average about $27,000 a year. Times two, that's $54,000 additional a year that you have to spend because you didn't know what you were doing before you went to uni, right? You thought you did, but you picked something and you prepared, but then there was a problem and you pivoted, you changed your major. In the US, 80% of college students change their major more than 3 times, which is why they're delaying graduating by 2 years, spending all that extra money, right? So wasted time, money, and effort. But then the other thing is just the damage to self-esteem.
Exactly.
And the thing I'm hearing most these days is, Jay, I feel so behind. Everyone else has it figured out. I feel so behind, right? And they fall into the comparison trap, the cultural narrative here in the US and probably where you are in Greece. It's important, like higher education after high school is really promoted, and they feel that pressure from the societal script, the narrative, from people, from themselves, their peers. And when it doesn't pan out that way, they internalize it. And they really start saying, like, what's wrong with me? And I always tell students, especially if they've had a perceived failure or they tried uni, it didn't work out. I said, it's not a matter of what's wrong with you. It's what's right with you that did not fit. It has nothing to do with it being you. It's that you weren't in the right environment or the right fit or the right timing. And so just hearing that helps them to realize I shouldn't be down on myself. So there's a lot at stake here, a lot at stake at getting an identifiable fit early in the process than later.
And could this be one of the root causes of those so many mental issues and emotional issues that people are going through? Like wrong career fit,
Yes.
wrong positioning in the first place?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think COVID has drastically, impacted that whole realm of mental health by itself for other reasons like isolation and different things. But yeah, I mean, studies have shown that when someone is in a mismatch job and they're dissatisfied and unmotivated and unfulfilled, it does spill out into other areas. They've done studies that show it affects them physically. It affects sleep. It affects their emotional well-being. It affects relationships. Because listen, let's face it, right? We get a lot of who we are from the work we do. We spend a lot of time in work, you know, whether it's a typical, so to speak, 9-to-5 job or as an entrepreneur, like a lot of our life is put into the work we do. And if that is an environment that's, you know, unsuccessful or struggling, unfulfilling or unmotivating, and you're in that for hours and hours and hours a day, I mean, come on, let's face it, that's going to have an impact on the rest of you. It's not going to stay contained in a little box and not spill over into the other areas of who you are as a human. So yes, I absolutely believe that it affects people. And I've seen directly with my clients, you know, especially the older ones that come in and they're miserable, and I see them transform when they're like, oh my gosh, like I can see this job actually fits. I feel happy just knowing that there's something that matches. Like they're not even in it yet doing it. And it's just like a relief, like a cloud, a dark cloud lifts from them so that they can see hope. And they're like, oh, I'm not always going to be stuck and miserable as I've been for the last however many years.
And we're conditioned to attach our self-worth on our career, which makes things even worse when we want to change and say, oh, I have to change, I want to change, or I need something else in my life. So even this thought is difficult for some people because they have attached their whole life and career on their, they have attached their self-worth, their self-esteem on that.
Yeah, and the prospect of starting something unknown is more scary and more alarming and more fear-driven than the prospect of just staying stuck and miserable.
Staying there, staying there forever.
Like, you know, the phrase, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but better the devil you know than the one you don't. You know, it's like, hey, I hate this, but at least I know what it is. You know, versus,
and I can do it.
Right. I can at least grind it out, at least make a paycheck. But pivoting to something I haven't done before, like I'll just stay happy in my
They prefer to stay in their zone of competence instead of transitioning into their zone of genius, which would make their life a huge transformation in their life.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing. And this seems to me like as if it should be mandatory in every school. This.
Me too.
It would save people a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of waste, and it would create happy people, right? It's not about success in life, it's about fulfillment.
Yes.
Yeah. And so going to this, my favorite part of the podcast is when I ask one of my guests to look at my pile of books, if you can.
Yes.
And choose one and play a game with me. If you
All
can.
right. Let's do Think Like a Monk.
Okay. I don't think I have finished it yet, but this is my latest one, and I read it when I have free time.
I've never played a game with someone interviewing me. This is I'm excited, Theodora.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. So give me a page number.
All right, page 17.
17. That's early on. 17. Okay, line.
Line number 9.
Okay. It's an exercise. Try these value-driven decisions for the next week whenever you spend money on a non-necessary or make a plan for how you will spend your free time. Pause and think. What is the value behind this choice?
Wow.
only takes a second, a flash of consideration.
Mm.
Your thoughts?
Wow. Wow. Geez, so good. Yeah, I have attempted, be honest, I haven't always done this well, but I haven't attempted to live what I call the intentioned life.
Mm.
And the intentioned life means you do things with intentionality because, it's like a budget. If you don't make a budget to tell your money where to go, it will go somewhere and you'll wonder where it went. And the same thing is true with time. If you aren't intentional about what you do with your time, it will leave and go somewhere and you will wonder where the hell it went. Like that's just how it is. So I love that. Like going down to small choices and making even those count and being intentional. I just a dear friend of mine just passed a few days ago, and she wasn't expecting to leave this planet in the way that she did or the time frame that she did. And it reminded me, be so intentional about what you're doing, especially in things that are like relationships. Be present, fully present. Take every advantage of that moment, absorb it, bring it in, be around good people, be very intentional about the decisions that you make and make sure they have value because you only have a limited number of decisions to make in a day. So I love that. That's great. I'm going to actually practice it. Okay. And you can check in with me.
Okay, I'll hold you accountable.
Yes. Hold me accountable, please. I'm open to that for sure.
Amazing. And time is our most precious asset. I don't think there is anything more precious than that, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's all we have.
Mm-hmm.
And everything we have built in our lives was built around time and our focused attention on and the time we gave on that.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you so much, Jay. How can somebody work with you? How can somebody connect with you, learn from you?
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
is a name you would recommend for somebody?
Yeah, sure. Yep. The best thing is just to check out my website. It's life after 12th, lifeafter12th.com. You can learn about, I have different resources. I have resources for schools. I'm actually, hopefully in June, I'll be launching my first book that will come out in June. It's for teens and young 20-year-olds. It's just giving them a framework that they can use to research jobs of interest so they really know what's involved and they won't have those hidden things sprung on them, like happened to me in my architect program. So that book is coming out in June. I have a parents course that just went public. You can find that on the website. And then a great resource for any parents who are listening that have a teen or a young 20-year-old who's struggling with career direction and you're trying to help as a parent. I have a free private Facebook group by the same name, Life After 12th, Life After 12th. You're welcome to come join us. There's almost 3,000 parents in there. I do a weekly or monthly live training. I have free resources every week. We have an email community every week. I send out value-driven emails that will equip you and encourage you as a parent who's trying to support your child in this journey. So yeah, lifeafter12th, either.com or the Facebook group by that name.
Amazing. And this is something that everybody needs, I guess. Again, I just repeat it. It's not only for young ones. Everybody might find something useful in there. So I would highly recommend that everybody joins this Facebook group or you recommend it to somebody you feel that needs it. Thank you so much, Jay. It's been wonderful having you here.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Theodora.